Oi, 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 the current champ training tournament is going damn good, boys. And you know what? We haven't even leveled a single level 50 champ up to 6 stars yet. That's going to be tomorrow's video, man. This video is going to be about the most underrated champions in Raid Shadow Legends, man. It's a whole new series of lists. And this one is going to be a damn good one, man. Because let me tell you something. There are some champs in Raid that have terrible user reviews, and by their review scores, you would assume that they are absolute trash. Supreme Ethel is one of those champs, and she's going to kick off this list. And hey, before we start, if you've got any champs in mind that you feel are super underrated, they might be uncommons, they might be legendaries, go ahead and drop them in the comments down below. We'll keep this series rolling, man. Stuff like this, again, really helps me out as a newer player in Raid, helps out newer players who are on the channel to know which champs to keep an eye out for. So Supreme Ethel, why is she so underrated? I am not going to reveal her review scores just yet because, oh my god, like if you're a newer player, okay, and like English isn't your first language or something, and you like struggle to understand what champions do and stuff like that, and you just look at her reviews, you would just use this champ as food, man. Like, it's really bad. So what does that kit actually do? Why is she reviewed so badly, man? Let's investigate. So, the A1 attacks one enemy. If there are enemies under a freeze debuff, also attacks them. So she can be swinging into multiple guys. Very interesting stuff. She also has a stacking attack debuff that can stack up to 3%. Up to 30% on hit with her A1 against enemies that she's swinging into, and she also buffs her own attack by 3%, stacking up to 30% with the A1 as well. So, stacking stuff, obviously way more effective into longer duration fights, but yeah. Interesting enough, A1. The A2, dude, this is where it gets serious. This is nuts. This is crazy, okay? Attack all enemies. Before attacking, has a 100% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn, and if enemies are frozen, okay, and again, the freeze applies before you deal the damage, okay, if the enemies are frozen, it will ignore strengthen, ally protection, and unkillable buffs, as well as 20% of all targets' defense. Dude, my god, this thing's under 310 cooldown. Obviously, it doesn't require that many bucks either to really crank it up and get it to an absolutely nuts amount of damage. Yeah, Cold Company, this here too is mental, okay? Doesn't seem like the kind of skill that would appear on a champ with very bad ratings now, does it? Well, let's keep reading, man. So, the A3, by the way, I just want to point out, very good, this A2 ability into normal mode Spider. I kind of feel like this would just trivialize it, almost. Insane. Even if you're not one-shotting all of the Spiderlings, you're freezing them. So it's like, you might as well be killing them. In fact, like, freezing them is almost in some ways better than killing them, you know? Anyways, man, so that's the A2. The A3 places a strong version of increased attack, increased crit rate, a shield buff, and a strong version of increased accuracy buff on this champion for 3 turns, then grants an extra turn. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, only requires 1 gosh darn skill buck to, yeah, fully buck this thing. And so, yeah, you will have these buffs up constantly, right? And of course, because you're getting the extra turn, this is just perfect for an arena nuker. She's bringing all of these buffs herself, frees up spots across the rest of your team so that you don't have to bring these buffs for the rest of your squad, because yeah, Supreme Ethel, if she's your nuker in arena, she's bringing them herself. She's got it handled. Also, the increased accuracy is obviously very good, because you don't want to be building Ethel with a crap load of accuracy. You do need accuracy because you need the freeze debuff to land, of course, but you want to be not having to, I don't know, build it with like 300 accuracy or something. That's just not that ideal. You want to be putting those stats into damage if possible. And so, being able to get this plus 50% accuracy buff on the A3 is obviously fantastic. And so, yeah, her second awesome role in the game, probably her best role in the game, to be honest, is going to be on arena offense as a nuker, right? The big freeze debuff, ignoring all of these crucial buffs that you see pop up in arena every now and again as well, ignoring the target's defense if they're frozen, blah, all of that good stuff. She's bringing her own buffs. Like, dude, she's there to slap in arena, okay? Now the passive. She has a small chance of placing a freeze debuff on attackers for 1 turn when hit while she is shielded. Of course, she brings her own shield as well. And she also has a fully booked 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff on all enemies for 1 turn whenever a shield buff on this champion is removed by damage. Mental, okay? Crazy stuff. And, of course, her aura is an increased ally attack by 35%. In arena battles. Dude, she's an arena monster. She might not be like the best arena nuker in the game. Frankly, I couldn't really comment on that because I haven't done much homework yet into arena nukers, but that's going to be an upcoming series we're going to be doing as well. Nukers particularly epic rarity nukas that you want to be looking out for, so do stay tuned for that. Also, make sure to hit like on this video and subscribe so you are way more likely to catch future uploads from this happy little channel on our quest from noob to pro. It'd be awesome to have you. Let's check out a review, shall we? Drum roll, please. What is this? Okay, dude, actually, I know what this is. I'm going to tell you what this is. If you're an experienced player, you'll already know. If you were a newer player, you'll be thinking, what the hell are people thinking, right? Supreme Aethel released in a garbage state. She was weak as hell, okay? When she was first released, the first iteration that Plarium released of Supreme Aethel was a piece of crap, okay? And people were mad, and so people just downvoted the hell out of her, you know? Maybe they went a bit overboard because it was like a protest vote, you know? I'm not actually sure of the specifics of how bad she was, because I just wasn't there, I just wasn't playing the game at the time, right? Then they buffed the crap out of her, right? Plarium took this legendary people were very, very underwhelmed with, and they made her into a goddess, right? Now she's insanely good, at least in a couple of areas of the game, and for whatever reason, Plarium just don't reset champion ratings. So she's still got the really, really bad reviews, dude, and I don't know, man, like, I can't imagine that too many new players are caught out by this and they look at these reviews. Supreme Aethel, oh my god, she must be really bad. Screw it, I'm going to use her as a 5-star chicken. You know, I'm just going to use her as food. Like, surely most people read the skills and figure out that, you know, she's pretty good. Like, even if you've only been playing the game for a month, surely you can look at her skills and think that, you know, maybe she's a bit better than reviews suggest, you know? I don't know, man. That's Supreme Aethel, probably the most actually, like, physically underrated champion in the game that we had to start this series off with. And hey man, speaking of new players potentially getting caught out by stuff in Raid Shadow Legends, if you are struggling to get a decent start in Raid as a brand new player and you're looking to start off a fresh new Raid account, make sure to do so by clicking on the promo link down below at the top of the video description. Doing so will start your new account with a free epic champion and a whole bunch of starting resources, including 500,000 silver and a bunch of chickens to help you rank up. Now, if you are not a new player and you want a little freebie on the house, make sure that if you haven't already, go ahead and input the promo code GAMELEAP. Doing so will get you a free energy refill. Very, very important stuff for the current ongoing champion training tournament. You might agree. 10 free experience brews and 100,000 silver. It's our little promo code. It helps to support the channel. Make sure to pass it around amongst your friend circle, amongst your clans, all of that good stuff. That's it, really. All right, man. Next champion on our list, we're going to be venturing into the Sylvan Watchers and into the epic tiers. And not all of these champions have super, super negative reviews. Some of them are quite average. My god, Pan is actually a little bit below average. And hey man, the reason he is on this list is because I think that people are holding Sylvan Watchers to a little bit of a higher standard than they would other, like, rare and epic and legendary champs, just because they're a brand new faction. And so I think the expectation is with Sylvan Watchers that they're going to be power crept a little bit and that they're going to have a slight leg up on the existing champion pool, and so people expect a little bit more from epic champs, but I think that these ratings are a wee bit low for good old Pan the Bohorn. So, quick kit breakdown. You might have noticed his Fire Knight scores there were somewhat on the positive side, like a 4.4. I think that Pan the Bohorn, just because of his A1, can make him into a pretty solid starter champ to at least kind of unlock the potential of getting involved with hard mode Fire Knight because of the freeze effect, right? So on the A1, it's a double hitter with fully booked a 50% chance on each hit of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. And curiously with Pan as well, will ignore 50% of the target's resistance if the target's speed is equal to or less than this champion's speed. So you build him fast as hell, okay? Quite easy to make him much, much faster than Fire Knight, of course. And so you get to build him with a bit less accuracy than you otherwise would need to because he's ignoring half of their resist, right? Which is nice. Anytime that you don't have to build a crap load of accuracy into a champ, it means that you can put those stats into other things, usually damage. Well, especially damage with Pan, given that he is an attack-based champ, and he's also pretty solid as a nuker. Right, so the A2 is an attack all enemies, 3-turn cooldown. Before attacking, place a strong version of increase attack buff and increase speed buff on this champ for 3 turns. So he's just bringing the self buffs, which, of course, we always love on our arena nukers, particularly when it's a before attacking effect, right? Buffs himself up, huge buffs, swings in, good stuff. Now, again, is he like the best epic arena nuker in the game or something? Well, of course not, right? But he's a progression style epic, you know? Again, he's going to help you get started in the likes of hard mode Fire Knight. He can help you get started when you need just extra arena nukers to fill out tag arena teams, stuff like that. And on the A3, this also helps him out a little bit into Fire Knight. And it's actually pretty decent into arena as well now that I read it, but it's a triple hitter on the A3. Each hit will ignore a little bit of the target's defense, so already off to a good start. Each hit also has a 100% chance bucked of placing a True Fear debuff for 2 turns. Very, very good into the arena indeed. Will ignore 50% of the target's resistance if the target's speed is equal to or less than this champion's speed. So again, he has another ignore resistance effect on the A3, which again, if you're having to build less accuracy, you get to build more damage, which just helps him out again to be a arena nuker. And this is another one of those sweet abilities that kind of adapts depending on if you're playing against a champion or a boss target, right? If the target is a boss, has a 100% chance of placing the Weaken debuff for 2 turns instead, which is just lovely. So hey man, Pan the Bullhorn, what do you guys think? Is he a little bit underrated? I feel like he is. I gotta tell you the truth. I feel like arena offense could easily be like a 4.4, 4.5, pretty comfortably. I think he's much, much better than a 4. Fire Knight's Castle, I'd probably put him at like a 4.6, something like that. Just nudge it up a little bit, you know? I almost forgot. He's also bringing increased ally speed aura in dungeons as well. So there you go. If you need that in your Fire Knight run, Pan is your man. Or your goat. Oh my god, man. I'm rambling on in this video. We've got 5 more champs left to cover. Let's rapid fire the hell out of these, starting with good old 2Hack the Wanderer, which, by the way, his ratings are, like, pretty good. They're, like, I don't know, average to above average, I guess, for an epic. But we're still going to cover him anyway because we just have, okay? So, why is 2Hack so tasty? Let's break down the kit real quick, man. The A1 attacks one enemy 2 times each hit with a 40% chance of increasing the cooldown of one of the target skills by 1 turn at random. Gets stronger if this champ drops below 50% HP. It will instead increase the cooldown of all of the target's skills by 1 turn instead. The A2 is an attack all enemies with a 100% chance of placing strong version of decrease speed debuff for 2 turns. Also places a 50% increased speed buff on this champion for 2 turns. Pretty damn sweet. Also, if he attacks in while below 50% health, he will also heal for 50% of the damage inflicted. And so, hey man, strong debuffs, big AoE. He's also bringing a decent amount of survivability for an attack-based champion. And on the A3, tops it all off with an attack 1 enemy, steals 50% of the target's current turn meter. Again, that's a steal, not a reduce, right? Has a 100% chance of placing a stun debuff for 2 turns, steals 100% of the target's turn meter if this champion is wounded, right? If he's less than 50% health. So huge turn meter reduction potential. Strong decreased speed on an AoE, also gives himself increased speed in the process. Pretty damn good into basically all spider bosses. Pretty sweet into Dark Fear. Not bad into Scarab King. And honestly just pretty good into, I don't know, like all general content. It's difficult to think of something where 2Hack is bad, is my point. You know, he's a little bit of a Hitatsu in that sense. Now, do his ratings actually reflect this? I don't know. I think I'd bump him up just a little bit in Spider as far as epic quality champs go. I think that he's a little bit better than a 4.5. It's a shame that we don't have ratings that we can put in for Doom Tower bosses, to be honest. I'd like to see how other people score him on the likes of Dark Fear and the spider bosses in Doom Tower. You know, man, speaking of Dark Fear and champs that are underrated as hell into that, we've got a new-ish, anyway, I want to say, rare champ for the High Elves in the form of Prosecutor. This champ, I do feel, is rather underrated, to be honest. Also, not a bad champ for getting started in Fire Knight normal, okay? She's a very, very good progression rare. So hey man, let's break down the kit. We've got the A1, attacks one enemy 2 times each hit with a 30% chance bucked of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. Obviously, just pretty good to get you started in Fire Knight, like we just mentioned. Multi-hitter, 10 meter reduction, good stuff. The A2, very, very good indeed. Attacks all enemies with a 75% chance of placing the strong version of decrease speed debuff for 2 turns. So a little bit similar to 2Hack like that, but obviously it's the rare champ edition, so it's not 100% reliable with only 75%, and it's lacking any kind of bonus effects, but you can see how she is somewhat comparable, I guess, to like a rare edition of 2Hack in that sense. Also decreased speed, obviously very, very nice into the likes of Dark Fear. And on the A3, she has a triple hitter. Attack one enemy 3 times, places a strong version of increased accuracy buff on this champion for 2 turns before attacking, which is actually not the best thing in the world, but hey, means that it actually only has like a 1 turn duration after the attack has gone in, but that's all good. Each hit has a 30% chance, or not doesn't. Each hit has a 55% chance of placing a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. Heal reduction, bit of 10 meter control, both very, very good into Fire Knight, multi-hitters, Very, very good into Fire Knight. Of course, you're going to find better options than Prosecutor into normal mode Fire Knight somewhat quickly, but as far as progression goes, as far as getting started, you know, in normal mode Fire Knight, pretty damn good rare champ. Also, the heal reduction debuff and the decrease speed debuff. Good into Dark Fair, man. And what's more, because it's an attack all enemies in a strong version of decreased speed, you can easily take her up to 60 quite comfortably and get good value out of her for a long time to come in the likes of Faction Wars. So, there you go, man. Prosecutor, I'm making the case. I feel like this is an underrated rare champ. I feel like she's very, very good for progression and will even continue to give you value into secret rooms, faction wars, stuff like that for a while to come. Next up, dude, we gotta cover this champ. I remember looking into Whisper quite a while ago now, and I made a note of this champ because her kit is just deceptively mental. I think her reviews are very good, actually. Oh my god, they're not actually that great. Okay, good. She's got like a good Hydra score, which is nice to see. She's actually quite excellent into Hydra, even though she is a single target boss killer style attack champion. She just works out well into, I don't know, like all bosses in the game. Let's check out her kit, because honestly, I can't quite remember what she does and why I felt it was so important to make a note of her. Let's reveal why this champ is actually a little bit underrated, man. Okay, so the A1 attacks one enemy, 75% chance of placing weaken debuff for 2 turns. Just pretty damn sweet overall, okay? Attacks, on the A2, attacks one enemy, places a 50% increased attack buff and increase crit rate buff on this champion for 2 turns before attacking if the target has higher max HP than this champion. Interesting. Will ignore defense if the target is under a weaken debuff. So she just ignores all defense on the A2. Dude. And also, of course, if you're going to use it as a boss killer, which is her job, right? That's her job. She's always going to have less max HP than the target that she's swinging into, right? So she'll always be getting these buffs. It also means that you can build her with 70% crit rate and get away with it. And of course, if you're only having to build her with 70% crit rate, then all of those stats can go into more important damage figures. Things like, I don't know, crit damage. Now this is where it starts to get saucy as hell, man. The kit's already like pretty interesting. The A3 is where it goes to another level. Okay, there's levels to Whisper, dude. The A3, I just took a quick peek at this, attacks one enemy 2 times, grants an extra turn if the target is under decreased defense and weaken debuffs. So while she doesn't bring her own version of decreased defense, as long as you have that on your team and you have it up reliably, she is bringing a weaken on the A1, right? If you have these 2 debuffs up, oh my god, this thing is granting you free turns and extra turns all the time. So that's the A3 juicy stuff, and the passive has a 10% chance of granting an extra turn whenever this champion lands a critical hit. Okay, this is why I added it to the list, man. Increases damage inflicted on bosses by just a flat 20%. Okay, dude, 10% chance of granting an extra turn whenever this champion lands a crit. Bear in mind that she has a multi-hitter as well on the A3. And of course, you're building her with 100% crit. And so, yeah, you could be proccing extra turns kind of out of your ears, man. And of course, the aura is, yeah, increase ally attack in dungeons by 29%. Dude, the aura, you only need to build her with 70% crit. She's getting extra turns like crazy. Good damage multipliers on her skills. This gal, dude, she hits like a truck. Based on my homework on this champ, I feel like she's underrated just because she's a single target style nuker, and those are just generally kind of a little bit underrated by the community overall. And it's not until people with much, much better accounts than I have actually decide to build her out and give her a try in the likes of Hydra and stuff like that, that they realize just how mental damage numbers can be. Next up, we're heading into the Ogryn tribes, and we're going to take a quick look at good old Galcut, man. And I'm really only that, like, super interested in one of his skills, to be honest, but we'll give it a quick breakdown, because this is one skill in the game that I feel that, again, I really, really wish that in the client of Raid Shadow Legends, it would tell you the damage multiplier. Like, just saying damage based on attack, oh, well, how useful is that, you know? I want to know exactly how this damage is being calculated. Please, Plarium, add those extra details, man. That'd be really, really nice. Anyways, yeah, Galcut attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 50% chance of placing a strong version of decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Pretty damn solid A1. The A2, here we go, man. This is it right here. This is what people underestimate. Attack all enemies 1 by 1 in random order. Damage inflicted decreases by 25% after each hit. Okay, so every hit is doing a little bit less damage. People are kind of put off by that. They shouldn't be so much, because this thing has, checking my notes real quick, a 6.7 damage multiplier, meaning that the first hit of this thing is hitting at full strength, and he just punts things out of the game. That's it. Also, dude, even on the A3, it's an attack all enemies, place a bomb that detonates after 2 turns. People read the bomb and just think, yeah, I mean, how good can it be? Dude, it's an attack all. The multiplier for this son of a gun, I think, is 4. It's a 4 damage multiplier, damage based on attack. Just for context, Rathalos's A3, which is also an attack all enemies, that's a bunch of extra effects as well, of course. Rathalos's A3 is a 4.1, okay? Marginally better damage scaling than Galcut's A3, okay? This A3 kind of hits like a truck. Now, of course, the bomb effect compared to Rathalos's additional skill effects, it's not really comparable, but still, just don't underestimate how hard this guy can slap. Now, is he a little bit underrated? I honestly don't know. I don't know. All I know is that those multipliers are kind of crazy, right? And that people are oftentimes put off by the A2. I think that where Galcut actually struggles, just being realistic here for a moment, not getting too carried away, where he realistically struggles is that he doesn't actually just find a home in any particular area of the game. He doesn't really excel into any particular boss fight or like Doom Tower encounter or anything like that. He's just a little bit of a general damage dealer, and I support like the fact that the A2 is an attack all enemies 1 by 1 in a random order is a little bit of a problem, so he kind of struggles to find a home in things like arena offense and stuff like that, like as a nuka, you know? I don't know. What do you guys think of Galcut? Would you guys ever build out a Galcut? Would you recommend that newer players, if they were to pull a Galcut in their early days in Raid, should they build him out? I'd be really, really intrigued to hear what you guys think of this one. Is he actually underrated? I'm not so sure, man, but he is definitely an interesting champion to look at. Next up, we have a champ that, for some reason, dude, is only rated as a 3 out of 5 on Hell Hades, despite actually, admittedly, on Hell Hades' rating system, has very, very good Doom Tower ratings, pretty solid 4-star Hydra ratings, Dragon, Spider, good into a lot of areas of the game, especially as well arena offense, and that is going to be Arix of the Nice Revenant. Let's actually check his in-game ratings. Okay, so his in-game ratings are much, much better than HellHades.com's ratings on the champ, which is quite interesting. It's not often that you see that big of a discrepancy between the ratings of Hell Hades and the in-game stuff. It's interesting stuff, man. Is Arix like some kind of controversial champion? What do you guys feel about Arix, man? Hell Hades has him at like 4 stars for Clan Boss, which is like quite high for a Hell Hades score, by the way. It doesn't even make the grade, really, in the in-game reviews. Also, Hell Hades has this champ at a 1 star for Shogun's Grove and Sand Devil, whereas it goes over 4 in the in-game reviews. So there's quite a lot of discrepancies here, man. Arix, what I've heard on the grapevine is that Arix is somewhat underrated as an arena nuka. And hey, maybe not quite as underrated as I was suspecting, but you know what? Seeing as though we're here and I've never talked about Arix before on the channel, we're just going to cover Arix anyway, even if, you know, not really underrated, but whatever, dude. Okay, so the A1, this is a really interesting champ, man. Attacks all enemies on the A1, okay? Has a, what is this, fully booked? 35% chance of removing 1 random buff from each target. And dude, on an A1 that's an attack all enemies, that is kind of insane, right? The A2, an attack all enemies with a 75% chance of placing a stun for 1 turn, transfers a random debuff from this champion to the targets that receive stun debuffs from this skill. Yeah, I don't know, dude. In Arena, this seems mental to me. This seems so, so good. On the A3, we have a... Ooh, wow, only requires 2 bucks. 3-turn cooldown. Places a strong version of ally protection buff on all allies except this champ. Also places a counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns. And so, dude, he's counterattacking, man. Especially in something like Arena like this, where you're just spamming out the A1 on counterattacks. Oh my god, you're stripping so many buffs. So many unprotected buffs, that is, to be fair, from opponents. And again, I think that's part of the reason why Arix doesn't last super, super long. If you're going to use him as your main arena nuka, you are going to eventually find better options. But still, I don't know. This little skill combo seems absolutely insane to me. And on the passive, fill this champion's turn by 5% each time an ally inflicts a critical hit. Heals the champion by 5% of their max HP each time an enemy inflicts a critical hit. So the guy is tanky as hell as well. HP based, by the way. So there you go, man. That is Arix the Deathless. Tanky as hell. Crazy utility. Very, very, very strong debuffs with that, I want to call it almost, like, I don't know, super, super reliable AoE stun. Would you build out Arix to use as your arena nuka or your arena utility style champ? Let me know down below, man. Probably not underrated. Shouldn't have really been in this video. But whatever, dude. It's done now. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you all did enjoy this one. As I mentioned at the start of the video, if there are any super underrated champs that you would like to see covered in this series, make sure to drop them down below in the comments. And yeah, I'll be certain to check those out. If you're a newer player looking to kickstart a new Raid Shadow Legends account, make sure to do so by clicking on the promo link down below at the top of the video description. Doing so will start your new account with a free epic champion and a whole bunch of starting freebies. It is the best way to start your new Raid Shadow Legends journey. Thanks for watching, guys. Do enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm going to catch all of you guys just a tad bit later, man.